Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Forrester Financial Podcast. My name is CJ Patrick.
I'm Nathan Clark.
I'm Tristan Piper.
Really excited to talk with you guys today. We have a great subject we want to cover. The three of us are advisors here, and something that's near and dear to our heart is how we pick and choose the right financial advisor. A lot of people know they might need one in their life, but really we want to dive into what's important when we're looking for a financial advisor and how that can help you out in your journey. So the first thing we want to cover is, really why does that matter? And where do you begin in that journey? So Tristan, when we think of trying to find a financial advisor and choosing one, what's one of the first topics that comes to mind?
I think there are a lot of times, especially today, where people are unsure about the future.
Mm-hmm.
People are uncertain what to do with their money or what decisions to make. And a financial advisor is a partner that can help you make those decisions, make sure that you're on track for the future that you want and not the other way around.
Yeah, I'd echo that too. I mean, an advisor's not just somebody that's going to tell you what to do and give you a plan. We're here to be a sounding board and make a custom situation for you. I think that's where we really provide value.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, what you guys are saying too, just to add a last piece on that, sometimes I think people kind of throw a dart at a board when it comes to advisor, and maybe they get a referral source from a family member or a friend, which is a great way to try to find an advisor, but that can sometimes lead you down a wrong path because there's other areas you need to look at that really is going to specialize for you in your individual situation. So when we think about that, having trust and building a relationship is really important in our business. So, Nathan, when we're thinking about that, what does that mean when we're looking for an advisor, and how do we find someone that we know we can try to build trust in that relationship with?
Yeah, it's kind of like getting married. When you find the right one, you find the right one.
Yeah, right.
So like you mentioned earlier, you can get a referral and go find somebody, and you might jive with them, you might get the right answer, but they're not the person you want to go to the dance with the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Whereas, when you find the right advisor, that's a relationship you're going to keep for a very long time, hopefully for the rest of your life. I think, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's part of it too. Yeah, do you have anything to add to that, Tristan?
I think it's important to have an advisor that has the heart of a teacher, that's willing to go slowly through all of the questions or decisions that you have to make. If you have somebody that's telling you how it is or taking over for you, you can't really be sure whether it's the right path to go. But if you have an advisor that is explaining it to you the way a teacher would, then you can have more confidence in the advice if you understand it.
You need to be able to explain it to a friend when you're done.
Right.
Yeah,
I think a really good quote that I've heard before when people are looking for advisors, and I know I've heard from clients myself, is, if the market crashed tomorrow and I really need to lean on someone, is my advisor someone that I know is either going to reach out to me or I can reach out to them, and I have that trust in that relationship right there to know when hard times come, because hard times will come for all of us, that there's a person that has my back right there. They know my plan. They know my lifestyle. They know my finances. They're there to lead me on that path. So I think having that trust, that relationship, we can all agree, is probably one of the most important things you can find when looking for an advisor.
definitely.
With that too, though, you want to find someone that obviously has some experience and education in the field. The financial industry is broad when it comes to investment products out there and services we offer. We hear a lot of buzzwords. Some investment one day or 1 week might sound great, it might not the other time. So when we're thinking about looking for advisors and some of their experience and education, what are some of the key things that we can look for, guys? Who wants to get started?
I think the holistic planning aspect of it is truly important. It looks different depending on where you go and what your situation looks like, but somebody that can look at it from a broader perspective so that they can understand how the details relate to your broader plan, I think is very important. But you can definitely find that certain places and not find that other places.
I think adaptivity, right? If your advisor is somebody that is constantly learning, is able to be adaptive and say, hey, here's what we've noticed in the market and here's where we might want to go, versus, hey, stick it out 24/7. That is most of the time what you want to do, right? If the roller coaster is going, you don't want to jump off halfway. But it's also nice to know, like, hey, there's some paths we can take to change what's going on, and here's what we recommend. So you don't want an advisor that's stuck in a rut, but you do want one that's always educating themselves to know what's what, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. I think having an advisor that, you ask them questions and know they're constantly researching what's going on in the marketplace and, you know, even outside just finances, because we're affected by so many different things in the world. So geopolitics is a big thing at play there. What's happening at the White House, for instance, but even, you know, on a local level, what's happening in our local communities. Different states have different taxing going on and different rules and regulations. So, you know, I think having an advisor that has all those different areas of expertise, like we're talking about, is really important. But then too, you know, someone that has some experience, and experience and education isn't always something that's just on a piece of paper. So if you guys want to go into a little farther detail about, you know, maybe that experience side and some things, an advisor's experience. We're all younger guys, but I think we've experienced some things in our lives and we've learned from mentors that's helped. So Nathan, if you want to kind of jump in there and maybe expand on that for a little bit.
Yeah, I think a lot of good advisors get to work with other advisors, right? So collaboration is extremely important, especially in our firm where we can walk down the hall and get different points of view from every single person. You know, Robert's been in the business quite a long time, and I started under somebody that's been in the business 30 years. So the amount of experience I've just been able to absorb from their life, that's been invaluable. So if you have an advisor that's a sole practice and has only worked with themselves, they're going to have that limited knowledge to pull from. Whereas we have these multiple pools of multiple people, and we just have so much more information to give. And if we don't know it, we typically walk down the hall and try to find it. So I think that's the biggest value that we provide in that sense. Yeah.
And then Tristan, if you can touch on too, I know, you know, people, if they're looking for an advisor and they might see an advisor that has a bunch of extra letters at the end of their name on a business card or their website. And so I kind of want you to touch on the importance of people that find different specializations in the industry and certificates, and they're continuing their education, and maybe the importance of finding someone that's a CFP or has RICP at the end of their business card there, and what that does for them.
Definitely. I think it demonstrates that they're willing to go above and beyond to find industry research, to find the best information to bring to their clients. I think that demonstrates credibility, but ultimately the experience of working with multiple clients in all stages of life and being there with them and giving them advice as they proceed to the future, I think that experience is invaluable regardless of what specialties you have. But the specialties can definitely give you the extra edge so that you can just give that much better advice to your clients.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that leads us really into our next segment too, and something that I know we've talked a lot about, and that's when you're looking for an advisor, like a lot of different things in life, you know, what do they actually offer? A lot of different advisors might specialize in only helping people with financial planning, or they might only be an asset manager and work on your investments. Maybe they only work with small business owners, whatever it may be. They might have a niche, they might not. But, you know, I want you guys to talk a little bit about the importance of finding an advisor that fits you in your life and what their offerings are and how that might help you on your financial journey. Nathan, you want to get us started?
Yeah, I mean, you said the word buzzword earlier, and I would say holistic's one of those, right? We're a holistic firm, so we do everything you just said. We focus on small business, financial planning, asset management, insurance options. So we touch on everything, and that makes us, a master of everything, and it's a good focus for us. But then you find people that are just experts, right? There are some people, if you are in a specific field where you say, hey, I think I'm in a weird situation where I have all these trusts, I have all these monies, I have 72 properties to manage, I need somebody with just a little bit extra edge. Yeah. You can find somebody for that. If you're looking for a generalist, you can go to a firm and see if they have answers, but then there's firms like us where we're pretty mastered in everything and we can touch base on things, but there are things that are on both sides of that spectrum where we might not be the perfect advisor for.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Tristan, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, and I would caution against proprietary products or firms where you are closed into buying specific things. I think it's important that you have access to the whole market, that you're not required to buy certain products, especially if you're not sure why that product is being recommended to you or how that contributes to your broader plan. I think it's important to find an advisor that is flexible and that can truly meet your needs without any boxes to check behind the scenes.
Yeah, I really liked that point, Tristan. I'll come on right behind that. I really appreciate where you brought up talking about captured products or proprietary products. Some firms, like I'm not going to name any, but they're only allowed to sell their fund family, right? That means they're going to be good, but not the best in every category. Whereas something like our firm or an RIA or a BD model, you can go out there and you can shop around the best of the best and pick what you want off the shelf from each category, rather than having to say, here's what I have. It's here's what's the best, right? That's a whole new ball game to play in.
Yeah, it is. What You guys mentioning that, I think that's really important and something people don't really look at, and being able to pick the best of the best. What are maybe some questions people can ask an advisor if they're testing them out to see, if they are pigeonholed in some products? It might not really be to the fault of an advisor, just due to where they work. Are there any questions you guys, might ask right off the top that they could see about that and see if that's going to fit them or not?
One of my favorite questions to get asked, just because it opens the conversation up, is what are your limitations? Are there things you can't do, or what are you going to try to sell me something? Those kind of questions. Are you going to sell me something, or what can or can't you do? Is very fun for me. I don't know why, but I appreciate that question because I get to say, hey, there's nearly nothing under the sun that we can't help you with or provide some value except for crypto, right?
Right.
It's weird to be able to have a shorter list of what you can't do than what you can do.
Yeah.
I think that's the value that I would say. Ask those questions.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
The first question that comes to mind is, are you a fiduciary? A fiduciary is somebody that is legally obligated to act in your best interest, and that means that they're not just going to recommend products that might make sense for you or that don't not make sense for you. But a fiduciary is someone that has a duty of care to you. They need to make sure that what they are recommending is actually in your best interest, and that involves a broader perspective, and that requires total access to the market, regardless of what firm you work for.
That's great. Yeah, that's really, really good. The last subject we want to cover when it comes to how to choose a financial advisor, some things to look at, is really near and dear to all our hearts. Is I still like to call myself a younger guy, but we'll see. We're getting to middle age soon, but we really believe in finding an advisor that is younger. And when we think of younger, it doesn't have to be a huge age range. There's no specific age, but there's stats out there about our industry. The average age of financial advisor is somewhere in their upper 50s to early 60s. So this is a cohort of advisors that are going to be retiring here within the next 10 to 15 years. And we've found, and people talking to us, our current clients and prospects that we meet, say they really value having advisors they know that are going to be working in the industry through their retirement date and to the day that they pass away. It's reality. But to have that person and that relationship there through your life's journey is really, really impactful. So Tristan, I want you to get us started there, and you kind of laid the groundwork right now, but what are some things and what's really important about finding an advisor that is in the younger age range? We'll say below 50, we'll say right now for an age, but what's really important about that?
As a recent trend, it seems like most people are interested in having more effective technology, and technology can empower the planning process. It can give you better results, more accurate results, and quicker. It can give you more access, so you may be able to view your investments online rather than just with a statement in the mail every month. It really depends on what you're looking for, but an advisor that's comfortable with technology, which is going to tend to be on the younger end of the industry, can be a significant advantage to you and to your planning. Yeah,
I mean, that's wonderful. We talked about it earlier. You want somebody that's constantly educating themselves. So the younger folks, we have more elastic brains. We're ready to continue to absorb new things and learn new stuff every day. And we spend so much of our time researching the market, educating with new wholesalers or different firms, Goldman Sachs, American Funds, all these companies we meet with, and learn their market insights and see if it makes sense. And then technology research. Who are we going to work with? And we're not the old dog trying to learn new tricks, where we can pivot between technology very quickly and say, hey, this is really the best for us and our clients. Oh, or this one's not, and maybe we need to switch and find something better. So I think working with a young advisor means, you mentioned it, you have a relationship that you can have prior to retirement, through retirement, and all the way up to the end. Whereas right now, if you're 60 years old and your advisor's 60-year-old, you're going to retire at the same time. And then now you're going to have a brand new relationship in the most difficult part of your life when it comes to finances.
Right.
That's a complicated area, is retiring with money. And what do I do? How do I have enough? Okay, now I have a new relationship as well to manage in that situation. So I think there's a lot of value in having a younger advisor.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to understate the importance of consistency, regardless of what part of your financial planning we're talking about, whether we're talking about your investments, whether we're talking about just saving and sticking to your budget. Consistency is a very important part of managing your money, and it can be difficult to achieve that consistency if you don't have the same advisor for as much of the journey as you possibly can.
Yeah, I like that. Where our firms, we have multiple eyes on the same plan, but this plan is being executed the same way. Whereas if you bounce between advisors, you have new eyes and new plan every time you get a new advisor. That's inefficient. You're not getting the same result that you should. Yeah, that's a good point to bring up.
Yeah, that's great. I think too, something to look for is, we kind of spoke on a little bit earlier too, but multi-generations in an office too, I think are really beneficial. We talked about having some experience beforehand, and that coupled with education. Experience is one thing that, you really only get through life, and that's living life and having some years behind you and going through some ups and downs in the market in our industry. But, seeing friends and family members pass away, or going through a second marriage, adopting kids, having kids go to college. So, having an office where there's that thirst for knowledge with younger advisors that are really into the technology, want to learn what's new and upcoming, but then having some older advisors that have been through ups and downs in the market and those life experiences, melding those together and using a team to have you support you in your financial journey, I think is really beneficial to people, and something that I know we're passionate about here at Forrester Financial, and we're always looking for new clients that can help fit with what we're trying to do and with what they're trying to do. So, to wrap up here, we really hope you guys found some value out of this talk. We love talking about things like this, some of the softer side in our industry, how to find an advisor, the value of finding an advisor. We're going to have some more information on this coming up. If you are in your financial journey, first looking for a financial advisor for the first time, or maybe you're looking for a second opinion, or you have an advisor that is potentially retiring, you want to try to find a different office and another relationship, we're open to business for you guys, and we would love to have you test us out, speak to one of us here and the team here. We would love that and appreciate that, and we think maybe we'd be a fit for you. Please give us a call at 509-464-4475 or visit our website, forresterfinancial.com/contact. We'd love to get connected with you and schedule a meeting. Thank you very much.
Hi, and now for our last segment, we have Aaron here with us. We're going to talk about life insurance and how that plays a role in how to select your health insurance agent. Aaron, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at the firm.
Yeah, so I am the life and health insurance specialist here at Forrester Financial. So anything insurance related pretty much just comes through me. And so, yeah, I answer a lot of questions about different types of life insurance, health insurance, all that good stuff, because it can be very complicated.
Of course. And so you do that for personal, and you also do that for business, right?
Correct. Yep. And so I help employees and employers. So, people who own businesses and people who do not, everybody, I help them answer any questions or choose the best kind of life insurance policies that will fit their lifestyle.
That's wonderful. So then this really plays a role and ties into what we just talked about, right? Where selecting your financial advisor is very important, but so is selecting your agent. So can you tell us how you feel that is important, how hard it is to select an agent? What kind of steps do you go through to get there?
Yeah, so I was actually just reading this on Investopedia. 90% of agents quit within the first year of being in business, and that number actually climbs to 95% when you consider a 5-year period. And so if we're talking about long-term security, if you're planning for something that's going to happen way in the future, you're going to want to have an agent that's going to at least be around. Right. And so it's very important to make sure you pick the right agent, because, life changes. Maybe you need to update something, whatever it is. You need to make sure that agent that put that policy in place is actually going to still be around. Right. And statistics show that they probably won't be. So picking it is very important.
That's interesting. And nobody likes to wait through a phone tree, right? Like when I lose my insurance agent for my car insurance and I can't get a hold of them, I have to call State Farm, and I'm on that hold tree for a long time. But it's much nicer to just have a contact and say, hey, Aaron, what's going on? Can you help me out, right?
Yeah. You're going to want someone that can do that for you, right? I get paid to wait on hold, so you shouldn't have to.
And so along with just having somebody to call and a contact, right, what's the value you bring to the relationship as an agent?
Yeah, and so, one big one is trust, right? You need to be able to trust that the agent that is helping you is actually offering products and services that actually help you, right? And so not just chasing products, chasing commissions and premiums, they're actually going to be offering something that's going to help you. So a benefit that I have here at Forrester Financial is I have the advisors to lean on, to where if I have, maybe a question, something that I need to figure out, I can lean on you guys and say, hey, I have a client with this specific scenario. Is this a good option for them, right? And so it's not just my knowledge that I'm going against. It's your guys' knowledge too.
Yeah, it's a team. So Aaron, with this broad pool of options when it comes to selecting life insurance, term, permanent, the different versions of term and permanent, all these things out there, how do you help people select or choose the right path, right? Because you're kind of the shaman in this case. They come in, say, hey, I need life insurance, and then they're trying to pick out of this big pool.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the best way is looking for referrals, right? One great option is asking your advisor, hey, who's the best option that I can use for life insurance? 2 is asking friends and family, right? Getting referrals off of people that you trust, and then actually interviewing these agents, right? Do some homework of your own. Figure some stuff out to where, you know what kind of questions to ask these agents, to where if they can answer these questions, then hey, these guys actually might not be the right fit for me. If they're pushing just one product, right, as like one, like a fix-all solution, right? That's usually someone that you want to stay away from. And so just knowing these little things on what to look for and what your agent should be able to help you with will really help you choose what kind of agent that which agent you should be choosing.
And which product's right for you, because you can reach into from multiple different carriers, different products, and you can select the best of the best. Yeah,
and your agent should be able to easily explain these to you, right? So if you are getting into a product that you don't really know, hey, why am I getting into this? That's not good, right? You should definitely know what product you're getting into, why you're getting into it, and your agent should be able to easily explain that to you. And if they can't or won't, can is one thing, won't is an even bigger, run away, right? That's a huge red flag. Those are some good ways of finding a good agent to help you.
Mm-hmm. And I know, as an example, my wife and I, it's an emotional conversation to say, hey, babe, I want to get life insurance and I want to protect you. And now you're going to have this conversation with a stranger. Yeah. So it's an emotional experience to choose life insurance. Why do you buy life insurance? And then how do you play a role in that new interaction? Let's say it's a couple that wants to buy life insurance. That's, again, emotional, right?
Yeah. I just got married, right? So I know that I'll be setting up my family with that as well. But we look at like maybe a new married couple that just bought a house, right? The role that I play in that is I'm going to help protect that house for that family's future, right? Whether if that's for the husband or for the wife or the spouse, whatever it may be, maybe it's the kids. I know that I'm going to be there to help them for probably until I retire, right? Which is going to be a long time. And so that's something that's really rewarding about my job, is that I'm building a relationship with these guys from, the ground up in some scenarios. And so, it's really cool to know that I'm going to be there for them, for pretty much everything, whether that's buying a house, kids going to college, saving up for whatever it is, right?
And I guess I'll tag on to that. You're going to have to ask tough questions, right? There's a part where you're building more rapport by telling them the truth. Like, hey, I'm seeing there's a gap here, and I don't want you to walk out of here with the wrong coverage, right? So you are outside looking in saying, hey, you might want $250,000 worth of insurance, but you really need X, Y, and Z, right? So you can line out and say, hey, I love where you're coming from, but I see these as potential issues. Yeah. And what's that feel like when you're in that position where you're really, truly helping people?
Yeah, no, it's great. That's the main reason why people get into insurance, right? Or at least why they stay in insurance. But you just gave that example. I'll give you the opposite example of where maybe someone's like, hey, I need $1 million of insurance, but I'm looking at, their scenario, maybe their budget can't fit in that, and right, all they really need is actually 250, right? They might want $1 million, but maybe they only needed 250. So there's both sides to that coin. But back to your question of helping people, it feels good, right? That way I know that my clients, they're not overpaying for too much insurance, but they're also not being exposed by having not enough, because having more is better than not having enough, for sure, right? For sure.
So that's where the experience, education, and time in the business is really going to play a role, right? So the more you've done, the more people you've seen, the longer you've been doing this, is really going to help build your rapport and your knowledge of the industry. So again, like you mentioned, being able to walk down the hall and talk to one of us or talk to anybody in the office, Bobby, and ask those questions like, hey, I haven't seen this yet, have you? So having that pool of knowledge, the education, how important is it to work with, let's say, say, an agent that is on a team and is able to access more than just your own data bank?
Yeah, I mean, it's very important. It's why I joined the team, right? It's because I need to know that when I'm offering my client a product or a solution, I need to know that it's actually the best thing for them, right? And that's one of the things about insurance, right, is that people are always so afraid to do anything because they're not always sure if it's actually the best fit for them, right? And to be honest, a lot of the agents don't actually know if it's the best fit for them, but they have a situation. This is what they have to sell, so this is what I'm going to try to. That's what they're going to try to do, right? And so being able to have a team to be honest with me and go, hey, this is not a good product. That is very important for me, and then obviously the clients too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my clients are family, friends, stuff like that. I want to make sure that they're getting the best thing possible. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess one final question on that segment. When it comes to working with an agent or how to select an agent that works for, let's say, ABC company and can only sell ABC products, do you feel like that is constrained, or is that really great? Or do you like being in a place where you can use ABC, DYX, whatever you want to use in combination with each other?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be specific to the situation, right? But the way I look at it is that having more options is always better, right? Whether I'm looking at just one option or do I want to look at 10 options? I'd rather look at 10 options personally. And so that's where finding a broker, someone who's independent, someone who can just take your information, find the best product and the best company, and then offer it to you.
Take it out to market kind of
Yeah,
thing.
and it's ultimately up to you, but at least you know that you're getting the best option put in front of you.
Good.
Yeah.
And I guess to wrap it up, what are your thoughts on choosing an agent that is older, younger, middle-aged, new to the business, long-term in the business?
Right, yeah. So, like we talked about earlier, new to the business is it's not bad, right? But you're going to want someone that's going to have some experience, right? Or at least is under someone who has a lot of experience. You want to make sure that, it's not to say that you don't want someone who's old either, right? Because a lot of these guys really know what they're talking about, and they might have someone that can help you after they're gone, right? The best advice I can give is find an agent that you can trust. You can trust with your future, right? Because if you can trust them with your future, then you know that they're going to be able to help you out still, once they retire. And so just figure out someone you can trust, ask an advisor, ask your family and friends, and then just make sure you, like I said, make sure you know and you have some questions to go into this interview, right? Interview your agent. And if they can answer these questions, then maybe, keep looking.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned earlier that you and yourself, you're years away from retirement. So you get to partner with these people for a very long time. You're always on speed dial for them if they have questions about their policy or they need updates or life happens, right? So on that note, the right agent protects you and protects what matters the most. So that's family, income, and legacy. Invite listeners to connect. We're going to redo that part.
Yeah, go ahead.
And to wrap it up, again, this is Aaron with Forrester Financial. Please feel free to listen to all of our other podcasts and visit us at forresterfinancial.com/contact and schedule a time to have a conversation with us, meet Aaron, meet the team if you ever have any questions. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Securities and advisory services are offered through Cataray Grant & Co. Incorporated, a registered broker-dealer and registered investment advisor, as well as a member of FINRA and the Security Investor Protection Corporation. Forrester Financial is a separate entity from Cataray Grant & Co. The cost and availability of life insurance depend on factors such as age, health, and the type and amount of insurance purchased. Before implementing a strategy involving life insurance, it would be prudent to make sure that you are insurable.